Welcome back to the third and the final session of Introduction to Human Rights from London College of International Studies by me, Dr. Mohammed Al-Wishi, the head of English and Translation of London College of International Studies. We stopped last time on the role of students as human rights advocates. So, one of the most empowering aspects of human rights education is recognizing that students are not simply future citizens who will someday engage with rights issues. They are currently citizens with the capacity to make meaningful contributions right now. Young people throughout history have played crucial roles in advancing human rights, from organizing school integration efforts to leading climate justice movement. By positioning students as potential advocates and change makers, human rights education helps them develop agency, consider, and practical skills for civic engagement that will serve them throughout their lives. Okay, awareness and understanding advocacy begins with the knowledge. Students must first understand what human rights are, recognize recognize when violations occur, and identify root causes of injustice. This foundation enables them to see beyond surface level problems to underlying the systematic issues, identifying local issues. Effective advocacy often starts close to home. Students learn to identify human rights challenges in their own schools and communities, whether discrimination, inadequate access to resources, or barriers to participation, making advocacy personal and immediately relevant. Building knowledge and skills, young advocates develop specific competencies, research skills to understand uh, issues deeply, communication abilities to articulate concerns clearly, organizational capacity to mobilize others, and strategic thinking to design effective interventions. Taking action, advocacy moves from learning to doing. Students might raise awareness through campaigns, support effective individuals, engage decision making, organize events, create educational materials, or participate in existing movements and organizations. Reflection and growth. Throughout, advocates reflect on their efforts, what worked, what didn't, what they learned, and how they can improve. This iterative process develops resilience, adaptability, and deepening commitment to human rights work. Examples of youth-led human rights initiatives worldwide. Around the globe, young people are demonstrating remarkable leadership on human rights issues, often bringing fresh perspectives, innovative approaches, and moral clarity to the long-standing challenges. Their initiatives range from local school projects to international movements that have captured global attention and driven policy changes. Climate justice activism, youth climate activists like Greta Thunberg have mobilized millions and millions of young people worldwide through school strikes and protests, demanding actions on climate change as a human rights and intergenerational justice issue. These movements demonstrate young people's capacity to frame complex environmental issues in moral terms and mobilize massive public support. Education access campaigns. Students in various countries have organized campaigns to improve school facilities, challenge discriminatory policies, reduce fees that exclude poor students, and advocate for inclusive education that serve students with disabilities. These grassroots efforts have achieved the concrete improvement in educational access and equality. Anti-discrimination initiatives. Young people have established organizations and campaigns challenging racism, sexism, homophobia, and other forms of discrimination in schools and communities. These initiatives often combine education, dialogue, and advocacy to change attitudes and policies while supporting affected individuals. Digital rights advocacy. Teach savvy young activists work on issues like online privacy, digital surveillance, cyberbullying, and equitable internet access, bringing attention to emerging human rights challenges in digital spaces and proposing youth-centered solutions. I raise up with my voice not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. Mala Yousafzai. Summary: the journey of learning human rights. As we reach the conclusion of this comprehensive introduction to human rights education, it's valuable to reflect on the journey students have taken and the foundation they've built for continued learning and engagement. This course has been designed not simply to impart information about rights, but to cultivate the knowledge, skills, values, and commitment necessary for students to become informed, engaged citizens who understand their capacity to contribute to creating more just and equitable communities. Categories of rights: understanding civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights as interconnected dimensions of human dignity. UDHR articles, familiarity with the Universal Declaration's comprehensive articulation of fundamental human rights, universal application, recognition that human rights belong to everyone, everywhere, without exception or discrimination. Definition and the principles. Students now understand that human rights are inherent, universal, inalienable rights belonging to all people, grounded in principles of dignity, equality, freedom, justice, and fairness. They recognize these rights as interdependent rather than isolated in entitlement. Rights and responsibilities. Learners appreciate the reciprocal relationship between rights and responsibilities, understanding that enjoying rights requires respecting the rights of others and contributing to collective well-being. Historical context. Students grasp the historical development of human rights frameworks, particularly the significance of UDHR and its emergence from humanities termination to prevent future atrocities. Contemporary challenges. Students recognize ongoing violations and barriers to full realization of rights worldwide, understanding both the progress made and the work remaining to be alone. Skills gained throughout human rights learning beyond conceptual knowledge. Students have developed a robust set of transferable skills through their engagement with human rights education. They can now formulate probing questions about complex social issues and pursue answers through research and inquiry. They practiced analyzing situations from multiple perspectives, considering diverse viewpoints while developing their own formed positions. Students have learned to think critically about causes and the consequences, identifying systematic issues rather than just surface symptoms. Communication skills have been honed through discussions, presentations, and written work on topics. Students can articulate ideas clearly, listen actively to others, and engage in respectful dialogue, even when address controversial issues or fundamental disagreements. They've developed their research capabilities, learning to find credible information, evaluate evidence, and synthesize material from multiple sources. Perhaps most importantly, students have cultivated ethical reasoning, the ability to apply rights principles to real situations, consider moral dimensions of decisions, and evaluate actions against standards of justice and dignity. These skills extend far beyond human rights contexts to prepare students for thoughtful engagement with countless personal, academic, and civic challenges they'll encounter throughout their lives. The ongoing importance of human rights education. This course represents a beginning rather than an end. Human rights education is not a subject to master and set aside, but an ongoing journey of learning, growth, and engagement. New challenges continually emerge from technological developments that create novel rights issues to global crises that test our commitment to fundamental principles. Students will encounter situations throughout their lives that require the kind of ethical reasoning, critical thinking, and commitment to justice that human rights education cultivates. The knowledge and skills developed through this course provide a foundation for lifelong engagement with human rights. Students are encouraged to stay informed about rights issues, continue questioning and analyzing social structures and policies, remain open to diverse perspectives, and persistently work toward creating communities that honor human dignity. The ultimate measure of successful human rights education is not performance on assessments, but sustained commitment to these principles in daily life. Conclusion: empowering students through human rights education, a foundation for justice. As we conclude this comprehensive introduction to human rights, it's essential to recognize that transformative potential of what students have learned. Human rights education is not simply an academic exercise or a box to check in curriculum represents and requirements. It represents a profound investment in building a more just, peaceful, and equitable world. One student, one classroom, one community at a time. The knowledge students have gained, the skills they've developed, and the values they've cultivated through this course equip them to be forces for positive change in ways both large and small, immediate and long term. Every great social transformation throughout history, has begun with people who understood that current conditions didn't represent inevitable realities, but rather circumstances that could and should be changed, from the abolition of slavery and to the extension of voting rights, from the dismantling of apartheid to advances in LGBTQs plus equality. Progress has come through the efforts of individuals and communities who refuse to accept injustice and work it persistently to create better alternatives. Today, students stand in this tradition, inheriting both the achievements of previous generations and responsibility to address remaining and emerging challenges. Respect human rights in daily interactions. Treat every person you encounter with dignity, regardless of their background, beliefs, or circumstances. Challenge discrimination when you see it. Listen to it and amplify marginalized voices. Recognize that small acts of respect and inclusively accumulate into cultures that honor human dignity, defend rights when they are threatened, speak up when you witness violations, whether in your school, community, or broader society. Support those whose rights are being denied. Use the knowledge and skills you've developed to analyze situations, identify appropriate response, and take meaningful actions, whether that means reporting bullying, participating in advocacy campaigns, or supporting human rights organizations. Promote rights throughout education and example. Share what you've learned with others, help friends and family understand the human rights principles, model the value of equality, dignity, and justice in your own behavior. Remember that promoting rights isn't just about responding to violations, but proactively creating environments where rights are respected and protected. Human rights are not a privilege conferred by governments. They are every human being's entitlement by virtue of this humanity, Mother Teresa. Human rights provide the essential foundation for a fair and peaceful world. When rights are protected, people can live with dignity, develop their capabilities and contributions meaningful to their community. When violations occur, the impact tends to beyond immediate victims to undermine social cohesion, economic development, and political stability. The human rights framework offers not just the moral principles, but practical tools for addressing conflicts, ensuring accountability, and building inclusive institutions that serve all people. Your learning doesn't end with this course. It continues through every choice you make, every interaction you have, and every situation where you must decide whether to uphold or compromise principles of dignity and justice. Continue educating yourself about human rights issues, both historical and contemporary. Stay informed about challenges facing marginalized communities locally and globally. Seek out opportunities to engage meaningfully with human rights work, whether through volunteering, advocacy, professional choices, or simply how you treat others daily. Remember that creating positive challenges doesn't require extraordinary circumstances or rare talents. It requires ordinary people who understand their capacity to make differences and commit to doing so consistently. The education you received has prepared you for exactly this kind of engaged citizenship. You now possess knowledge about what rights are and why they matter, skills to analyze complex situations, and develop thoughtful responses and values to guide your choices when faced with ethical dilemmas. Most importantly, you understand that you have agency, that your voice, your actions, and your commitment matter and can contribute to building the kind of world you want to live in. Your next steps: identify one specific way you will apply what you've learned about human rights in the coming week. Perhaps you'll challenge discriminatory language, support a classmate experiencing exclusion, research a local rights issue, or join an organization working on a cause you are about. Whatever you choose, take the first step and then take another. Sustained commitment to human rights begin with individual decisions to act on your values, repeated consistently over time. As you move forward from this course, carry with you the understanding that human rights are not abstract ideals existing only in international declarations and academic discussions. They are lived realities or denied possibilities that shape every person's daily existence. You have the power to influence whether those around you experience respect or discrimination, inclusion or exclusion, opportunity or limitation, with the knowledge, skills, and the values you've developed to be a force for justice, dignity, and equality in whatever contexts you find yourself. The world needs your voice, your compassion, and your commitment to human rights. Thank you for engaging seriously with this important learning, and may it inspire you to help create a future where every person's dignity is honored and every person's rights are protected. Thank you so much once again for watching me teaching you Introduction to Human Rights subjects in 3 sessions, and we'll meet tomorrow in another subject from London College of International Studies with me, Dr. Mohammed Al-Wishi, the English and Translation Head Teacher. Until next time, bye for now.